Tonight, we tell the story of a man who never slept. But this is not just a medical mystery. It's something much stranger. Something that bends the rules of memory, identity, and time itself.
Welcome to the unusual files of the universe, a journey through stories that science can describe, yet still cannot explain.
His name was Elias Rowan, and for as long as anyone knew him, he lived in a state that doctors refused to classify because it didn't belong to anything in their textbooks. Elias was awake, always awake, not restless, not hyperactive, just present, constantly aware of the world in a way most people only experience in brief, fleeting moments of clarity. His mother used to say that when Elias was born, he didn't cry. He stared. That he looked at the room, the walls, the faces above him, like someone returning to a place they had already been. As if sleep wasn't missing. As if he simply didn't need it. At first, people thought it was harmless. A strange talent. A rare condition. Something that made him different, but not dangerous. But as he grew, they learned there is something deeply disturbing about a mind that never shuts down. A mind that never unplugs, never resets, never releases what it collects. Because Elias remembered everything. And I mean everything. He remembered the exact pattern of cracks on the ceiling above his crib. He remembered the sound of his father's heartbeat the first time he was held. He remembered the way the doctor's hands trembled when they realized he hadn't slept in 3 months. He remembered the full layout of the hospital. He remembered conversations he wasn't supposed to understand. His mother once asked, "How can you know all of that? You were a baby." Elias replied, "I wasn't supposed to forget." By the time he reached adolescence, his memory was so vast, so packed with detail, that he could recall days like photographs. A perfect archive of everything he had ever seen, heard, smelled, or touched. But then something unusual began to happen. He started remembering things that didn't belong to him. Places he never visited, people he never met, moments he never lived. At first, he thought they were dreams, except he had never dreamed. He began to suspect that they weren't coming from inside him at all. Then came the predictions. He remembered a car accident 2 hours before it happened. He remembered a power outage the day before it occurred. He remembered the exact words his teacher would say in class before she ever spoke them. Students whispered that he was psychic. Adults whispered that he was disturbed. Doctors whispered that he was dangerous. But Elias insisted something else was happening. He said his mind was picking up extra days, as if he were somehow aligned with time in a way the rest of us weren't. He called them borrowed days. And then, one evening, he told his parents something that chilled them. "I think I'm remembering someone else's life." He said he would close his eyes, not to sleep, but simply to rest, and see flashes of another existence. A man waking up in a cold apartment, a woman crying in a subway station, a child running through a backyard covered in snow. All of them strangers, all of them vivid, all of them as detailed as his own memories. He said these lives were pressing against his mind, trying to mix with his. And then came the night he disappeared. In the middle of winter, wearing just a thin shirt, Elias walked quietly out of his house and into the woods. He was gone for 3 days. No footprints, no trail, no clues, just silence. On the morning of the 4th day, he returned, barefoot, shivering, eyes wide and unfocused. His parents ran to him, crying, asking where he had been. Elias whispered, "I slept." They didn't believe him. They couldn't. A lifetime without sleep, and suddenly, 3 days missing. But Elias didn't say it with relief. He said it like a confession, like an apology. When they asked what he dreamed, he stared at them and said, "It wasn't my dream. It was his." From that moment on, Elias changed. He would sit for hours, silently staring at walls as if waiting for something to move. He wrote endlessly in notebooks, symbols, fragments of sentences, names that didn't exist. Sometimes he laughed at things no one heard. Sometimes he whispered responses to questions no one asked. And the most disturbing part, he began forgetting things. Not memories from his childhood. No, those were still perfectly intact. He was forgetting who he currently was. His mother found him one morning sitting at the kitchen table, confused, asking her what day it was. Not the date, but the year. He asked if he still lived in that house, if he still knew her, if he was still Elias. It was as if the borrowed days were taking over the real ones. Then came the tape. A small recorder hidden under his bed. Only one message on it. Elias's voice, quiet, strained, trembling. He said, "I figured it out. I wasn't remembering the future. I wasn't remembering other people's lives. I was remembering the life of the person who dreamed me. I was never the original. I was the memory." There is a long silence after that, a silence that feels alive, as if something else was in the room with him. And then, one final sentence. "If I disappear, it means he woke up." Elias Rowan was never seen again. His notebooks remain. His recordings remain. His impossible memories remain. But the question he left behind is more unsettling than anything else. If a man never sleeps and suddenly vanishes, was he ever truly awake? Or was he only the dream? And with that, the trail goes cold. There are no more records, no more sightings, and no more answers. What happened to Elias Rowan remains unknown. File closed now.